Welcome, welcome, fellow truth seekers, to another mind-bending episode of Broadcasting Seeds, where we take the unbelievable, the strange, and the downright eerie, and plant those little seeds of curiosity right into your fertile minds. I'm your host, Bennett Tanton, and today we're diving headfirst into a tale as old as the rocks themselves, quite literally. Now, picture this. A dark, craggy hill rising out of the Pennsylvania landscape, its face scarred with ancient stone, its name whispered among locals with equal parts reverence and fear. Sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, right? But this place is real, folks. I'm talking about Hexenkopf Rock. Yes, you heard that right. The Witch's Head. A place where history, myth, and the supernatural all collide in a swirling cauldron of mystery. This isn't just a spooky bedtime story, though. Hexenkopf Rock is a place where the lines between the natural and the supernatural blur, where ancient legends refuse to die, and where the landscape itself seems to breathe with a life all its own. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, there's something about this place that gets under your skin. In today's episode, we're going to explore the dark and twisted roots of this infamous landmark. From its sacred beginnings with Native American tribes to its transformation into a gathering spot for witches and spirits, we're covering it all. We'll dig into the geological quirks that might just explain some of the strange happenings there, and we'll even touch on what it all means for the people living in its shadow today. So buckle up, because this episode is going to be one wild ride. But before we get started, let me remind you to hit that subscribe button, share this episode with your fellow explorers of the unknown, and of course, leave us a review if you like what you hear. All right, with that out of the way, let's dive into the mysteries of Hexenkopf Rock. Let's start by turning back the clock, long before the settlers arrived, back to a time when the land that Hexenkopf Rock rises from was untouched by European hands. This area was home to various Native American tribes, including the Lenape, who saw the world through a lens far different from the one we use today. To them, nature wasn't just a backdrop for their lives. It was a living, breathing entity, filled with spirits, energies, and forces beyond human understanding. Hexenkopf Rock, or whatever ancient name it might have gone by back then, wasn't just a big chunk of stone sticking out of the ground. No, it was a sacred site, a place where the spiritual and physical worlds touched. The Lenape believed that certain places in nature held special power. Places where the Earth's energy was particularly strong, where one could connect with the spirits of ancestors, or where visions might be received. Hexenkopf Rock was one of those places. You see, this wasn't just any old rock to them. It was a place where they could come to seek guidance, to offer prayers, and to honor the spirits. The Lenape people, like many other Native American tribes, had a deep respect for the earth and all its features. They believed that everything in nature had a spirit, and certain natural landmarks, like Hexenkopf, were seen as the homes of powerful spirits. Now here's where things get interesting. The rock's position, its towering presence, and even its eerie atmosphere weren't just accidents of nature. They were signs of its power. The Lenape would hold ceremonies here, offerings would be made, and those who were spiritually attuned might even experience visions. Some stories suggest that shamans and spiritual leaders would use the rock to connect with other realms, seeking wisdom from the spirits who dwelled there. But why here? Why Hexenkopf Rock? Well, some theories suggest that the rock's unusual shape and the way it stands out in the landscape might have made it a natural focal point for these spiritual practices. Others believe that there might be geological factors at play, magnetic anomalies or energy fields that the Lenape were sensitive to, even if they didn't understand the science behind them. The reverence for Hexenkopf Rock wasn't just about what the people could see, but what they could feel. The sense that this place was different, special, imbued with a power that demanded respect. And that feeling, that sense of otherworldliness, has never really gone away. It's lingered through the centuries, even as the land changed hands and new stories took root. So, as we consider the rock today, let's not forget that we're standing on ground that was considered sacred long before we ever knew its name. The echoes of those ancient beliefs are still there, just beneath the surface, waiting to be heard by anyone willing to listen. Oh, we've got this rock, right? A place of power, a sacred site for the Lenape. But then, as history likes to do, the script flips. Enter the European settlers with their own beliefs, fears, and, let's be honest here, superstitions. By the time these folks set their boots on Pennsylvania soil, the old world was already brimming with tales of witches, demons, and the forces of darkness. And let's just say, they weren't exactly bringing the warmest of welcomes to Hexenkopf Rock. Now, picture this. A group of settlers, far from home, isolated in a land that feels alien and wild. They stumble upon this imposing rock, looming ominously over the landscape, its very shape seeming to leer down at them like some ancient sentinel. The wind howls through the trees, strange lights flicker in the distance, and suddenly those old European fears start bubbling up to the surface. It wasn't long before Hexenkopf Rock got itself a new reputation, one that would stick for centuries. You see, in the minds of these settlers, a place like Hexenkopf couldn't just be a rock. It had to be something more, something sinister. Maybe it was the shape of the rock. Maybe it was the eerie quiet of the place. Or maybe it was the strange, unexplainable occurrences that began to be whispered about in hushed tones. Whatever it was, Hexenkopf Rock soon became synonymous with witchcraft. Now, we're talking the kind of witchcraft that sends shivers down your spine. Tales began to circulate that witches gathered at the rock under the cover of darkness to perform their rituals, conjuring spirits, casting spells, and consorting with the devil himself. The rock, once a place of spiritual reverence, was now seen as a gathering place for evil. And let me tell you, these stories spread like wildfire. People talked of strange lights hovering over the rock at night, of eerie sounds echoing through the woods, screams, chants, the sort of noises that make you want to pull your covers over your head and hope they just go away. Some even claimed to have seen figures in the night, cloaked and hooded, moving around the rock as if performing some dark ceremony. But here's the thing. Did any of this actually happen? Were witches really dancing under the moonlight at Hexenkopf Rock? Or was it all just the product of fear, imagination, and the natural human tendency to turn the unknown into something dark and dangerous? It's hard to say. What we do know is that the legend of the rock as a site of witchcraft became deeply ingrained in the local lore. Even today, the stories persist, passed down from generation to generation, each retelling adding a new layer of mystery and fear. And let's not forget the power of a good story. In a time when life was harsh and the unknown could be downright terrifying, tales like these served as a kind of social glue, binding communities together through shared fear and wonder. Hexenkopf Rock became a symbol, a physical manifestation of the things that go bump in the night, of the darkness lurking just beyond the edge of the firelight. So, whether or not witches ever really gathered there, the legend of Hexenkopf Rock took on a life of its own. It became a place where the fears of the old world collided with the wild unknown of the new, where the past and present fused into something that still haunts the imagination today. And who knows? Maybe, just maybe, there's a grain of truth hidden in those old stories, waiting to be uncovered by someone brave enough to look. So, we've covered the ancient spiritual roots of Hexenkopf Rock and the dark legends that followed with the arrival of the settlers. But what about today? You might be thinking, sure, Bennett, that's all in the past. We're modern, rational people now. We don't scare so easily. Well, folks, hold on to your EMF detectors, because Hexenkopf Rock isn't done with us yet. The paranormal doesn't check out just because we've got smartphones and Wi-Fi. In fact, some might say that the strange happenings at Hexenkopf Rock have only intensified over the years. Whether you're a ghost hunter with a trunk full of high-tech gadgets or just someone who enjoys a good spine-tingling story, there's something about this place that keeps drawing people in, and not always with pleasant results. Let's talk about the lights. For decades, if not longer, there have been reports of strange, unexplainable lights flickering and dancing around the rock at night. They appear suddenly, hover in the air for a few moments, and then vanish as mysteriously as they came. We're not talking about car headlights or someone with a flashlight playing tricks. These lights move in ways that defy explanation, often described as orbs or glowing shapes that seem to have a mind of their own. Skeptical? I get it. It sounds like something out of a campfire tale. But here's the thing, these reports aren't just coming from wide-eyed thrill seekers looking for a scare. They're coming from local residents, hikers, and even some of the more skeptical folks who ventured out there with nothing but curiosity and left with a story they'll never forget. One of the most famous accounts comes from the 1970s when a group of local teenagers decided to brave the rock after dark. Because, of course, what could go wrong, right? They claimed they saw a blue light hovering near the top of the rock, pulsing slowly, almost as if it were alive. The light didn't move like any flashlight or lantern they'd ever seen, and when they tried to get closer, it just blinked out of existence, leaving them in darkness and more than a little freaked out. But it's not just lights. People have reported hearing strange noises, whispers, cries, even what some describe as chanting, coming from the rock when there's no one else around. And then there are the shadows. Oh, yes, the shadows. Figures seen out of the corner of the eye, just for a moment, only to disappear when you turn to look. Some describe them as human-like, Others say they're more like shapeless blobs of darkness. Whatever they are, they add a whole new level of creepiness to the experience. And let's not forget the physical sensations. Some visitors to Hexenkopf Rock report feeling a sudden drop in temperature, goosebumps rising on their skin, even in the heat of summer. Others talk about a feeling of being watched, or worse, a sensation of being touched by unseen hands. An icy grip on the shoulder, a tug on the back of the shirt, that sort of thing. Rational explanations? Sure, maybe it's just the power of suggestion. But if you ask those who've experienced it firsthand, they'll tell you there's something more going on. Of course, with stories like these, it was only a matter of time before the paranormal investigators came knocking. Over the years, several teams have set up shop at Hexenkopf Rock, armed with all the latest gadgets: EMF meters, thermal cameras, digital recorders, you name it. And while the results have been mixed, there are enough eerie findings to make even the skeptics pause. Unexplained spikes in electromagnetic activity, disembodied voices caught on tape, and, of course, those elusive orbs of light captured on camera. Is it proof of the supernatural? Well, that's up to you to decide. But whether you're a believer, a skeptic, or somewhere in between, there's no denying that Hexenkopf Rock has something strange going on, something that keeps drawing people back, even if they leave more puzzled than when they arrived. So, what's the deal with Hexenkopf Rock? Is it just a case of overactive imaginations? Or is there really something lurking in the shadows of this ancient stone? Maybe it's a bit of both. Or maybe, just maybe, it's something we can't fully understand. At least not yet. All right, truth seekers. We've covered the spiritual, the historical, and the paranormal. Now let's put on our lab coats and goggles for a minute. Because as much as we love a good ghost story, we've got to ask, is there something about Hexenkopf Rock itself, something physical, geological, that might be behind all these strange tales? I know, it's not as thrilling as the idea of witches and spirits, but hear me out. This rock, after all, isn't just any old boulder. It's a massive outcropping of diabase, a type of igneous rock that formed deep underground and pushed its way to the surface millions of years ago. And it's not just sitting there minding its own business. The very nature of Hexenkopf Rock might be what's stirring the pot of local legends and paranormal encounters. First off, let's talk about the rock's magnetic properties. Diabase, like many igneous rocks, often contains minerals like magnetite, which is, you guessed it, magnetic. There's some speculation that the rock might be creating a localized magnetic field, or at least influencing the magnetic environment around it. Could this be messing with people's compasses or even their heads? Some researchers have suggested that unusual magnetic fields can cause feelings of unease, disorientation, or even hallucinations. That might just explain why so many visitors to Hexenkopf Rock report those spine-tingling sensations and strange sights. But that's not all. The rock's shape and position in the landscape might also play a role. Hexenkopf Rock is one of the highest points in the area, and it's exposed to the elements in a way that most of the surrounding land isn't. Wind patterns, temperature changes, Even the way the rock reflects sound could all contribute to some of the experiences people have had there. Ever heard of infrasound? It's sound waves that are so low in frequency that we can't consciously hear them, but they can still affect us, sometimes causing feelings of anxiety or even triggering visual disturbances. There's no solid evidence that Hexenkopf Rock generates infrasound, but it's the kind of place where that sort of thing could theoretically happen. Then there's the concept of ley lines, the idea that certain places on Earth are connected by invisible lines of energy. Now, ley lines are more of a fringe theory than a scientific fact, but they're worth mentioning because they often crop up in discussions about places like Hexenkopf Rock. Some people believe that these energy lines intersect at certain power spots, which could explain why such places attract so much paranormal attention. Whether you buy into the idea of ley lines or not, it's clear that Hexenkopf Rock has a pull on people, a kind of magnetic, almost gravitational attraction that's hard to explain. And let's not forget about the psychological impact of the rock's appearance. Hexenkopf. Rock doesn't exactly blend into the landscape. It stands out, looming and jagged, almost like it was designed to provoke a reaction. Studies have shown that certain shapes and patterns can evoke strong emotional responses. Sharp angles, for instance, are more likely to be perceived as threatening or dangerous. The rock's silhouette against the sky, especially at dusk or dawn, can create a sense of unease, almost as if it's watching you, waiting for something to happen. So, is the rock itself haunted, or is it just a perfect storm of natural forces that play tricks on the human mind? Maybe it's a little bit of both. After all, the mind is a powerful thing, and when you combine that with a place as unusual as Hexenkopf Rock, the results can be, well, let's just say, unpredictable. But here's the kicker. All these scientific explanations don't really take away from the mystery, do they? If anything, they add another layer to it. Because even if we can explain some of the weirdness with magnetism, sound waves, or geology, there's still something about Hexenkopf Rock that refuses to be pinned down. It's a place that invites questions, defies easy answers, and leaves us with a sense that there's more to the world than meets the eye. And maybe that's why Hexenkopf Rock has such a hold on us. Whether it's the science, the history, or the legends, there's something about this place that just won't let go. We've taken quite the journey today, from the spiritual roots of Hexenkopf Rock to the scientific mysteries it presents. But let's bring it home now, because while Hexenkopf Rock is undeniably a place of legend, it's also very much a part of the real, everyday world. And for the people who live in its shadow, it's more than just a spooky story or a scientific curiosity. It's a part of their identity, their history, and their community. You see, Hexenkopf Rock isn't just a destination for ghost hunters and thrill seekers. It's a landmark that's woven into the fabric of life in Northampton County. For generations, it's been a place where local kids go on dares, where families hike on a crisp autumn afternoon, and where stories are told and retold, each version a little different, a little more embellished, but always with that same sense of wonder and fear. To the people of this area, Hexenkopf Rock is a symbol, a reminder of the past, and a testament to the stories that have shaped the community. It's a place where history and folklore collide, where the old world fears of the settlers blend with the sacred traditions of the Native Americans, and where modern curiosity meets ancient mystery. And even though the world around it has changed, Hexenkopf Rock has remained a constant, a silent guardian of the land and its people. But what does that mean for the community today? Well, for one thing, it means that Hexenkopf Rock is a source of pride, albeit a somewhat eerie pride. There's a certain local ownership of the legends and the mysteries surrounding the rock. It's something that sets the area apart, gives it character, and makes it a topic of conversation far beyond Pennsylvania's borders. People who live near Hexenkopf Rock don't just know about the stories, they're a part of them. And in some cases, they've even added their own chapters. Take the local festivals, for example. Every year, there are events that celebrate the history and folklore of the area, including, of course, Hexenkopf Rock. There are guided tours, storytelling sessions, and even the occasional reenactment of the witch trials that were part of the area's darker past. It's all done with a sense of fun and community spirit, but there's also a deeper connection, a way of keeping the past alive and making sure that the stories, no matter how strange, are never forgotten. And then there's the educational aspect. Local schools sometimes take field trips to Hexenkopf Rock, not just to explore the natural beauty of the area, but to learn about its history, its legends, and its place in the cultural landscape of Pennsylvania. It's a way of teaching the younger generations about where they come from, about the importance of place, and about the power of stories to shape our understanding of the world. But perhaps the most important role Hexenkopf Rock plays in the community is as a reminder of the unknown. In a world where we think we've got everything figured out, where we've mapped the earth and decoded the genome, Hexenkopf Rock stands as a testament to the fact that there are still mysteries out there. Things we can't explain no matter how hard we try. And in that sense, it's a source of humility, a reminder that there's more to the world than what we can see, touch, or measure. For the people who live near Hexenkopf Rock, it's a daily presence, looming in the distance, casting its long shadow over the landscape, and serving as a constant reminder of the stories that have been passed down through the generations. It's a place of mystery, yes, but it's also a place of memory, of continuity, and of connection to something bigger than ourselves. So, the next time you find yourself in Northampton County, take a moment to visit Hexenkopf Rock. Walk its trails, listen to the wind as it whistles through the trees, and feel the weight of history and legend that hangs in the air. Because whether you believe in witches, ghosts, or magnetic anomalies, there's no denying that Hexenkopf Rock is a place where the past and present meet, a place where the stories of a community come to life. And maybe, just maybe, you'll leave with a story of your own to tell. And there you have it, fellow seekers of the strange. Another deep dive into the mysterious and the unexplained, brought to you by Broadcasting Seeds. Hexenkopf Rock, with its blend of ancient history, eerie folklore, and scientific curiosity, is a reminder that our world is full of wonders that defy easy explanation. Whether you're drawn to the supernatural or prefer the cold, hard facts of science, there's no denying that places like Hexenkopf Rock have a way of capturing our imaginations and challenging our understanding of reality. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to thank you all for joining me on this journey through the shadows of Pennsylvania's haunted landscape. If you enjoyed this exploration into the unknown, be sure to subscribe to Broadcasting Seed so you never miss an episode. And hey, if you've got your own tales of strange places, cryptids, or paranormal encounters, don't be shy. Share them with me. I love hearing your stories and might even feature them in a future episode. Also, don't forget to share this episode with your fellow truth seekers. And leave a review wherever you're listening. Your feedback helps keep this show growing and spreading those seeds of curiosity far and wide. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, there's always more to the world than what meets the eye. This is Bennett Tanton, signing off from Broadcasting Seeds. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay tuned.
I got bad thoughts that make my mind scared, hold me hostage and they don't fight fair. Who gon' pray for me and wipe all my tears? Who gon' save me if you not right here? Move this darkness and make my sight clear. Take me away cause I don't like here. Ghosts of my past, they filling the night air. Wake me up, I'm trapped in my nightmares. Wake me up, I'm trapped in my nightmares. Drowning, I'm off the deep end. Apparitions of all my demons. All my thoughts are committing treason. All alone, who gon' hear me screaming? Manifestations of my fears. Regrets that stretched out for light years. Can almost touch the light, homie, it's right there. Body free but trapped in my nightmares. Wake me up, don't let me drown. All the lights are fading